Well, greetings. It is Wednesday, June 6th, 2018, and this is Kania and Kennedy, the founders for the Fertility Family Life today. As it may look a little coming to you all live from Myrtle Beach, I am on a much needed little R&R/work. I'm definitely doing some work down here, but also enjoying some beach and some sun, the healing waters of the ocean. And it's only been the first day, and it's awesome. So it's just so I'm pleased to be here. And the thing about it, I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I've been going through my own wellness challenge in preparation for Baby Fabulous. I'm doing the work myself to make sure that the body that I bring this awesome baby into is happy and healthy and whole. And that means I got to get rid of some things. So it got a little intense for the past few weeks, but we are back and better than ever. Today in Fertility Family Live, let me give you a little bit of background about the Fertility Family in case this is your first time joining us. I know I met a lot of ladies out at the Women's Expo last weekend, and so we might have some new divas with us. So a little bit about the Fertility Family. Our goal with the Fertility Family is pretty simple. The idea is to provide natural and affordable solutions for fertility challenges. We want people to have happy and healthy pregnancies and babies. That's normal. That's regular. That should be what happens, not the exception to the rule, right? Um, and so we're bringing information and resources to people so that that can be your reality. For people like me, over 40, who may be having their first time baby, or it may not even be your first baby, but you found yourself like, oh, wow, I'm pregnant and I'm pushing 40 or over 40. What does it mean? We're providing support for women who may find themselves in that situation. So that mature first time pregnancy or just pregnancy support. People who are planners and who are like, okay, I want to plan for the baby, but what do I do? We've got some preconception planning. We've got live Q&A with holistic and C experts. Like today, we have the awesome Doula Akilah Shaheed. And so these are the people who, if you are interested in how to have a happy, healthy baby, now people on board who can answer those questions and really support and guide you through that. And then one of the best things about this, for people who may be doing a non-traditional path to parenthood, like myself, solo motherhood by choice, we're providing resources and support for that as well. So it's a wonderful initiative. I'm proud that Spirit put that on my heart to do. And so we're here. We're also kind of a book club, meaning the book we've been working with is The Naturopathic Approach to Fertility by one of our fertility family members, Dr. Jalisa Hernandez. She has taken the time to, all her over 20 years of experience with this, and she's put it into a book and made it really simple for anyone to follow if you're willing to do the work. So if you may not be able to, let's say, afford to work one-on-one with a fertility specialist, it's like a fertility specialist in the box. You buy the book, you read the book, you follow the directions, you have a baby. It's actually that simple if you're willing to do the work. Okay? I said we provide resources. So when I'm not, preparing for Baby Fabulous to come, I am a medicine woman. And one of the areas that I focus on is, holistic health. But as I found out more about women's health needs, I put together this awesome holistic feminine health starter kit. And my goal is for every woman to have a happy, healthy honey pot, which means let's say goodbye to PMS and cramps and PCOS and fibroids and endometriosis, infertility, hot flashes, all these things that we hear about are like female issues and people have tried to normalize. I say, no, you guys listen, there's no reason that you have to suffer through your cycles or through the change or anything, but you have to learn how to take care of your honey pot and everything associated with it, right? Because your reproductive system is more than just your uterus, it's more than just your vagina. You got your fallopian tubes, you got your ovaries, it's all these different things. And so what's great about these products is one, they're infused with herbs. And that's why I like them. And so these different herbs have different properties, but they're all designed to support and nourish the female reproductive system. Right here, these are the most essential part, I think, of the kit, the herbal pads, because the pads provide you with a non-toxic sanitary supply. So when you have your monthly cycle, most of us are using commercial pads that have things like dioxin from bleached products in it. And it means that it's leaching into your body. And dioxin alone has a half-life of 14 years. You don't want that in your body accumulating every month from the moment you start your cycle until you go to menopause. I started my cycle at age 12. I also use tampons. And so since transitioning out of most of the commercial products and using my herbal pads, and I also happen to use a Diva cup, which is a menstrual cup, as opposed to tampons, because I'm still not a pad girl, but these are my backups. But these pads are infused with herbs, so they're healing, they're nourishing. And most women find that with these pads and then this blend of herbs, you can take orally or take it as a tea, within about 2 to 3 months of starting, they see a noticeable difference in their menstrual experience. It's amazing. Like, they're like, how is this even possible? My cycle's getting shorter in length. I don't have any cramps. The bloating's not here. My girls are not tender. I'll tell you personally, since I started on this kit, including the prenatal vitamin and using this herbal blend, if you are having severe PMS issues, if I don't track my cycle with my phone, my app, I won't know what's coming. Like, it's that easy. There's no cramps anymore. My cycle's about 3 days. I wear a pad, the heavy pad first day, a medium pad the second day, and the last day I do my panty liners for another 2 or 3 days, just in case there's a little spotting. But for the most part, after day 3, I'm good to go. I'll tell you what, I have a happy, healthy honey pot and a happy, healthy period. And if you want that, check out adivamedicinewoman.com/feminine health, or give me a call. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. But the Fertility Family isn't about products, it's about resources, and those include human resources, like our featured guest today. We have the fabulous Akilah Shaheed. She is a certified licensed doula. She specializes in birth and breastfeeding support. A little bit about this fabulous woman. I met her about a year or so ago in Atlanta at a health event we were doing. She had a beautiful spirit, wonderful energy, and so it was wonderful to meet her, and I found out she was a doula. Now, I didn't need her services at the time because Baby Fabulous wasn't even 100% in the works. But when I was ready to do this, this is definitely who I reached out to around, or what do doulas do, and when do I need to get a doula, and providing a lot of great information. Her nickname is Black Panther Flower Child. And so, like, what does that mean? That means that she is down for the community, but she's a loving, peaceful spirit at the same time. We're going to call her a peaceful warrior for the community. And her work as a doula speaks to that. I mean, she's all about birthing injustice, or more so birthing justice, empowering women to make sure that they're getting their needs met. And she may or may not share about her own experience, but I'll just say this, that this came out of her own birthing experience and her wanting to make sure no one had to experience what she did. And so this work is personal. It's a labor of love, and it's out of her heart of a servant. She has a ton of experience in this work. Since 2009, we're talking, what is that, 9 years now. So she's a G in it. She looks like a baby, but you guys, she's an old head. She knows what she's talking about. She's out in California now. She is training to be a traditional birth attendant, also known as a midwife. And she loves to help women be able to have the births that they've designed. And then after you have the baby, she helps with, lactation. And then and she can help with post-birth recovery. If you haven't checked out the session she's done about postpartum and what do you do to make sure you get that snap back, both mentally and physically, make sure you watch that one. But today, I'll tell you this, our topic, it's a little bit of a challenging one, because as much as we all want to have happy, healthy babies, unfortunately, sometimes we get pregnant and we're excited, but that pregnancy doesn't go to term. And that's what we're talking about today, miscarriages. I mean, it's a real part, particularly for sometimes people who are dealing with fertility challenges and they find themselves pregnant, but they don't necessarily stay pregnant. And it's one of the things in the book that Jaleesa talks about. It's like, it's not just how to get pregnant, but how to actually stay pregnant. But then life happens, you guys, and sometimes miscarriages happen. And that's a real thing, and it has a real impact on your mind, body, and spirit. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about. What do you do when the unthinkable, when the unfortunate happens? And how do you recover? And so it's kind of a heavy topic, but it's an important topic, because while we want it all to be love and light and roses and happy babies, sometimes things happen. And we want to make sure that you guys are prepared for that too. So without further ado, I bring to you our special guest for today, Akilah Shaheed, the Black Panther Flower Child herself. Hello, fabulous. Welcome.
Greetings. How are you? Thank you for that fabulous introduction.
My pleasure. And I know
Yeah.
I sound a little crazy. After doing the Women's Expo, my voice has yet to recover. So this is my sexy, hoarse-like, hello voice you
I
guys
love
get
it
today.
because you look super refreshed, you look energized, and so it definitely, I want to hear about it still. Haven't just yet, and I'm so sorry that I couldn't make it, but I was there in spirit, and I did get to attend the year before, so I know, firsthand how fabulous it is, how wonderful it is to be in that space, and so particularly, I would like to thank you once again for including me within this group. I think it is fabulous, and I think it's a great way to introduce Baby Fabulous into the world. And I thank you so much for taking the time for yourself to make sure that everything is balanced and happy, and it is showing. Yes, it shows. So like she said, my experience with being a doula has really challenged me as far as my self-awareness. And so part of this topic, when dealing with miscarriage, we want to make sure that we're being as self-aware as we can. And we also want to make sure that women that are experiencing miscarriage do not put the blame on themselves. The act of creating life, definitely has source. So source, some people call it God, some people call it Allah, Jehovah, different names you want to give it, but there's only so much that we can do. And so the best thing for ourselves is to continue to love ourselves, even when we go through experiences such as miscarriage and even experiences such as abortion. So before I begin the presentation, I would like to take a moment of silence for those lives lost, and also for the mothers who had to experience it, and the fathers and partners as well. So if we can, just for 1 second, we're going to close our eyes and we're going to hold space. If you would like, you can put your hands over our wombs. I do that with my clients especially. And we're going to acknowledge that it is a huge job to bring life into this world. And that just because sometimes it does not turn out the way that we expected or the way that we want, that we do not hold or harness any doubt within ourselves, no guilt within ourselves, and that we keep pushing for those goals and that life. Sometimes it happens. We do the best that we can. Thank you, guys. And now we're going to go into our presentation. And we first want to start with miscarriage. Like I said, my name, and like Kania said, my name is Akilah Shaheed. I am a full spectrum doula. I'm a womb placement practitioner. I'm an intuitive healer. That does not mean that I heal people. What it means is that I save space and I provide tools for people to heal themselves. I am also a MU, which is a more excellent way breastfeeding peer counselor that provides lactation support for women after birth in their homes, free of cost to the community. And I'm also a Rose community transformer, which means once again that I provide breastfeeding support. So Rose is out of Atlanta, Georgia, and is traveling around the US. And MU is based out of Solano County, and that is in Vallejo, California, where I am presently residing. And so the topics that we're going to cover today is the types of miscarriages, the different causes of miscarriage, miscarriage prevention, what we can do within our power, healing techniques if we've experienced miscarriage, and then also a healing timeline, which is very interesting. I'll wait to get into that until the end. So what is miscarriage? Miscarriage, by definition, is the spontaneous expulsion of a fetus from the womb, usually before 20 weeks. And it is, in layman's terms, loss. And so as you can see, I decided on this picture because that's how it feels. I personally have not gone through miscarriage, but I have a bonus mom who went through miscarriage with one of my sisters. And so miscarriage does affect the woman directly, but it also does have a ripple effect out into the community. Anybody that she has told or announced that she was pregnant, anybody who was offering support and that was excited to go ahead and meet that baby, we do want to acknowledge that that does have an effect. And so my first experience was in 2000, the year 2000, actually. I was in 8th grade. And, you know, it was very difficult to process because it was kind of tippy-toeing around my bonus mom. I don't know how to comfort. I don't know what to say. So I think entering this presentation once again, we want to acknowledge that eggshells isn't always the best way to cope. I think now we are getting into a time where we're being more direct and actually acknowledging that women are the healing source. Like we said, you know, sisterhood and camaraderie is very, very valuable. And I don't think that we always take that into account when dealing with something such as miscarriage. We feel like it's something that is personal, and so we don't want to bring it up. We don't want to talk about it. For some women, that is the case, and we want to respect their privacy. But on the other end of it, we also want to show that it is a loss for the community, and we do want to offer our love and support in that instance. First, we're going to go through the different types of miscarriages. So the first one is called a chemical pregnancy. So this is when there's a disruption of the fetus and it has to do with chromosomal abnormalities. This covers about 60% of the miscarriages that we see. And so when we're dealing with chromosomal abnormalities, this is, once again, like I like to continue to let women know, this is out of your hands. This is something that is chemical. We can try to prevent it, which is what we'll talk about later on in the presentation. But for the most part, this is something that's out of our hands. This is something that happens within the body, and we cannot, we can only deal with it once it begins. The blighted ovum, this is an embryonic pregnancy. This means that the fertilized egg attaches to the uterine wall, but the embryo does not develop properly. And so what happens is that you will begin to have a spontaneous miscarriage, and it will eject the fetus. Our missed miscarriage is when a fetus dies early in the pregnancy, but the pregnancy tissue still exists within the body. So this, sometimes you'll hear about this happening when you go to check the heartbeat, and all of a sudden there is no heartbeat. The body continues to still experience the symptoms of pregnancy, and in order to move on from this, the mother has to go through a D&C, which is the physical extraction from a medical provider to take out the rest of the pregnancy tissue. We have the threatened miscarriage. So what happens with this is that you will see vaginal bleeding before 20 weeks. You'll experience lower back pain, which is separate from the lightning shots, which is the pelvis stretching out. This doesn't mean that the pregnancy will end in miscarriage. A lot of the times, and hopefully, you know, we have proper medical care and we can access, and we're able to get things like a cerclage. A closed cervix is one of the causes, and this may require a mom to be on strict bed rest. So as I had stated earlier, that I did lose a sister through miscarriage, and so my bonus mom and my father decided to go ahead and try again after healing had taken place, after my bonus mom felt like she was ready, and they had went ahead and decided. And so my bonus mom, I definitely want to give her a shout out. I don't know if she's gonna watch this, but I definitely do, because she sat on bed rest for 8 months of the pregnancy. And that means she had to completely change her normal routine in order to give the best outcome of my little sister Imani, who did make it through and who is 15 today. So, you know, those type of occurrences really show the strength in women. It really shows the determination that we have, and that just because you experienced miscarriage, that wasn't her first. My sister was not her first miscarriage either. And so, you know, Sometimes it continues to work it. You just have to work it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your spiritual background, whether that be God or any other deity that you claim, but it is possible. The inevitable miscarriage, and we have the incomplete abortion. So inevitable miscarriage means that there is no physical reason that a medical provider can figure out why you are miscarrying. It comes with unexplained vaginal bleeding and abdominal pain. It usually leads to cervical canal dilation, which just means that you would miscarry at home, unfortunately, and you don't have time to respond. You don't have time to get to the doctor. The incomplete abortion is when a small portion of the fetal tissues eject from the cervical canal. So we have had instances where part of the fetus, so not to get too graphic, you guys, but this is real, where you'll see something that looks like an arm, something that looks like a tiny foot, and that is it. But your body will still think that you are completing the pregnancy. And so those, once again, require ultrasounds. And you might need a medical provider to physically terminate the rest of the pregnancy. The complete miscarriage is when the entire pregnancy tissue is expelled and it is coupled with physical pain and bleeding, but it subsides very quickly. Now, that does not include the mental pain and the emotional pain. That takes however long it takes for a woman personally to deal with what has happened. Now we go into some possible causes. What causes miscarriage? So like I said earlier, 60% of miscarriages are from chromosomal abnormalities. Chromosomes are the tiny structures that are present in human cells, and they're responsible for carrying out the genes. Got a little typo there, but we're going to ignore that. So basically, half come from mom, half come from dad. And when they are coupled together, sometimes there can be one gene that is faulty. And that one gene will cause the fetus to begin to develop abnormally, and the body will register that as something that we're not supposed to grow. And so that is your body actually doing its job. And unfortunately, it ends up in a miscarriage. So that is why I want a lot of women to really, really, really realize, I know the feeling of it and the act of it still feels like your body betrayed you, but it actually is your body registering something incorrect. And that's the body's way of balancing out naturally. This is not supposed to happen, so I'm going to expel this particular fetus. Couples that continue to experience this are victims of chromosomal abnormalities. And I want to press the word victim, meaning you cannot always help it. Other possible causes are uterine abnormalities, meaning the shape of the uterus causes the early expulsion of the fetus, or it will not be able to carry. Incompetent cervixes. So my bonus mom, as I was explaining earlier, she had what was called an incompetent cervix, so it would expel babies early. So the remedy for her was to receive a cerclage, which is where they tighten up the cervix surgically. Can you hear me? There's a weird...
Yeah, I have a question. But I didn't want to interrupt. Okay, just two things. When you just talked about the chromosomal abnormalities, does it have anything to do with like you and your partner's compatibility, or is it just like your personal chromosome? Like what does that mean?
It basically means that the partners, something about the mixing does not mesh chromosomally.
Okay.
And even sometimes as far as when women get continual bacterial vaginosis and they have that partner, something within the chemical makeup of their two pHs cause an imbalance in the woman. And so sometimes it has to do with diet, something as little as the male changing diet or lifestyle. And then sometimes, unfortunately, it's kind of like thinking that you are physically allergic to your partner. And so when you're trying to conceive, the allergy is that abnormality.
So just not to belabor it. So if someone was in a relationship with someone, if someone was like in a relationship and they were then like having relations, maybe they're trying to get pregnant,
Yes.
or and they're not using protection, right? And
Right.
she's finding that she's having a lot of PV or infections, UTIs, whatever it may be. Could that be an indication, like an early indication, like, oh, wait a minute, our biology may not be compatible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And so that's usually, that's very normal. And that's what happens when you go to the doctor. They'll say, well, this is normal, you know, maybe it's diet. They'll first point to woman and see what's going on there. So that's why I like that you stated earlier, and we'll get back to the presentation, but what you stated earlier about menopause, about suffering through your menstrual period, and how society has labeled this as normal, but it's not normal occurrences. And so going to your obstetrician and saying, hey, you know, what's going on? Every time that I'm having sex with my partner, this happens, to just be thrown a bacteria, an antibiotic, and label it as normal. And here in 2 weeks, you'll be able to do that. That is an early precursor that you might pay attention to. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Great. Right. Yes. And that goes into our immune system. So the thyroid, issues within the thyroid and our hormone imbalances. If you have an autoimmune disease, that is a possible cause of miscarriage as well, because that lets your body know that your body sometimes misinterprets the signals within your biology and starts to attack itself. Untreated illnesses like diabetes and other chronic illnesses. So if you are on the immunization track and you do get regular immunizations, be mindful of the side effects that come with the immunization itself. And then on the other spectrum, be aware that chronic illnesses that immunizations have treated, if you haven't, that has an effect as well. So on one side of the spectrum, yes, we understand that our society definitely heavily recommends immunizations, but some of those immunizations do have side effects that do cause miscarriage down the line and won't necessarily be able to be related by the time that you're trying to conceive. So something of that nature would be the HPV vaccine. So we see a lot of commercial television. Oh, yes. Go ahead. You had another question?
Yeah, so this, because that's so key, because sometimes I know there's like a helicopter in the background, but okay, because sometimes, you know, when you're going through this, and I know a couple of divas who've had repeated miscarriages, and they're feeling so, you know, it's distraught, you know, and people don't understand, or let me back up. People have been asking me, like, you're saying you're having a baby, but you're not pregnant. Like, what are you doing? And they don't get why I'm taking so much time to really want to, because something's been going on with my immune system, you know, and I'm like, so that means my body's a little out of, you know, it's like you said, misinterpreting things, like thinking that things that aren't harmful are. And so doing the work to cleanse, to repair, and to restore my body to homeostasis, because I don't want to end up with a spontaneous miscarriage, because my body's like, whoa. And this is why it's important. And so when women are having these things repeatedly, it hurts my heart when, like, Western medicine doesn't tell them, you know what, let's do some detox. Let's do some healing and restorative work to your entire body, because your womb is part of this entire system. So it's just like, for any woman who may hear this, know that even if your doctor says, like, oh, it's just what it is, there are things you can do. Like, people think you can't come back from autoimmune diseases, but you can.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I am, and just to go into that, I had a traumatic experience related to birth, and I actually developed alopecia, where a good portion of my hair fell out. And I went to, you know, my normal physician, who referred me to a dermatologist, and I was given the same exact method, Rogaine shots. that was the only, exactly. And I'm sitting here, and I was 28 at the time, 26 at the time, and I'm like, half of my hair is falling out in the back, and they said it's an autoimmune disease that I just developed literally overnight. I didn't notice my hair falling out. I didn't notice anything else within it, and my only option is to take a steroid. And this is a steroid that I would have to be on for 3 to 6 months each cycle. And if it grows my hair back or not, I'm going to have to stay on this for the rest of my life in order to regrow my hair. This was what I was told by 2 professionals. And so, and those steroids had side effects, including, you know, they would definitely mess with my hormonal imbalance. And I have PCOS as well, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So that would be 2 varying factors. So I did my research, and instead, I decided to massage my head daily for 30 minutes a day with neem oil, olive oil, and almond oil. And my hair grew back. I've had no issues since then. But it just goes to show that even though you are diagnosed with something, you know, mindset goes a long way. Your own due diligence goes a long way. And belief that you can self-heal, that goes a long way. So, yes, I just wanted to put that out there as well, because that hits the next, which is PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And what this means basically is that you have a higher level of testosterone within the body. It makes it very hard for your body to regulate your menstrual period and your cycle. So if you're trying to figure out what days you're most fertile, I do use an app on my phone because that assists me. Technology is great sometimes, people, with my fertile days and the days I am not. It also helps me keep track on my menstrual cycle. So at first I was bleeding for 14 days. I would have to sit out of school. I began my period at 13. I would have to be out of school for 7 to 10 days, and I would be bleeding for 14 days. It felt like someone was literally beating me in the gut. I became anemic because I did not fully understand how digestion worked and how my iron absorption worked. And so it took a lot of self-research and figuring out my own awareness in the foods that I was eating and if I was absorbing the minerals and nutrients that I needed in order to function normally every month. Nobody has 14 days just to lay down and sit out and not be productive. And so along with that, with PCOS, I grew tumors, fibroid cysts and tumors, which doctors are now saying is normal. But once again, I'm on the boat with Kania as this isn't normal. It's not normal for us to be growing fibroids or tumors within our bodies. That is a huge indication of your body saying that, especially within your womb area, hey, we are inflamed. Something is going wrong here. I need your attention here. On one hand, the growth shows that we are feeding disease. The disease just means a dis-ease of that organ. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've caught something from an outside source and now it's growing within your body. That is saying that something within my body is going wrong and I need it balanced. And so bacterial infections, as we had discussed earlier, this happens. UTI is a good example of this. If you're having recurrent UTI infections, if you're having bacterial vaginosis, if you're having multiple yeast infections, this is not normal. And so these things, we'll talk about it later in the presentation, they are preventable. Once they occur, let's just not run to the doctor and get our antibiotic. What we've learned about antibiotics is that bacteria will become immune to it, and then they grow bigger and badder. And we want to make sure that what's going on in your body is that you're not building up an immunity to the antibacterial, because that means that it'll go away and disappear for a little bit, but it's not really completely gone. And so when the bacterial infection is in your reproductive system, that means that your ovaries are inflamed. That means that your fallopian tubes are inflamed. That means that it is housing essentially an infertile environment that can be managed and that can be healed. Other causes are exposure to smoking, alcohol, drugs, and environmental toxins. I know we know the obvious of smoking and the dangers of secondhand smoke. This includes e-cigarettes. This includes marijuana. This includes you living in an apartment building and just smelling the remnants of cigarette smoke that can and does have an effect, unfortunately, on the prenatal fetus. Environmental toxins, we usually don't think about our cleaning supplies as being toxins, but as more and more studies come out, we are learning that the Windex that you spray and wipe down on the mirror can have a negative effect within your body. And so go to the next slide. Other possible causes are maternal trauma. So this is something that I have been studying and I'm going to continue on studying because I think it's very interesting, especially for the melanated woman, meaning women of color, the maternal trauma that our grandmothers have had, our great-grandmothers have had, and so on and so forth, and what effect that has on us and our conception and our viability, what is going on within the generational trauma. So a lot of my work is energy work. And so if you know that your mother had any type of trauma, especially sexually, or she went through domestic violence, or you yourself have experienced sexual trauma or domestic violence, this includes verbal abuse, just as well as physical abuse or mental abuse. Really sit down and do some self-reflection and see if there is something emotionally blocking. This is still not saying that the cause of your miscarriage stems from you, but we want to eliminate all factors so that we give ourselves the best chance of it not happening. And so maternal trauma shows that within our DNA and within our ovaries that we carry our grandchildren, if they're female. So all females right now, so myself, like I said, I house my children that I may have this lifetime, and any of the children that are going to be daughters or eventually mothers, that I'm holding her children. So I have my grandchildren walking around with me. So what I experience, they are going to experience on a subconscious level that will be transferred through DNA. I think it's a very, yes, I see your hand. I'm like,
So I just, because, people sometimes think that we're being really woo-woo when we start talking about things like maternal trauma. And so I want to give my scientific people a term to look up. And it can either be transgenerational trauma,
yes,
or you can look up ancestral trauma. And if you don't find it, they are intra-generational trauma. You can look it up as it relates to Holocaust survivors, the Native American community. These are two ethnic groups who've really done a lot of work around this. And we don't hear about it as it relates particularly to the African American community or the African diasporic community. But transgenerational, intergenerational trauma is real. And there's actually scientific basis that shows up in your DNA. And so obviously, if it's in your DNA, it's going to be on the maternal level and it's going to impact this. So I just don't want people to write it off as like one of those crazy things, those holistic people are talking about. Here's the great thing. Science is finally starting to catch up with what we've already known in the spiritual and in the holistic and natural community for decades, for centuries even. So, but there's scientific basis for it. So please make sure that you look it up and you educate yourself. And inside of the work we're talking about, when Akilah just said she does a lot of energy work. We have our sweet spot consultant, Ajay, who comes on third Wednesdays. I do work inside of energetic work. Part of what that's about is doing cleansing on the ancestral level.
Yeah.
So that you're the one to stop the cycle in your family and to be able to create new possibilities without carrying all that stuff from the past into the next generation. So there's scientific basis for this.
Thank you. Thank you. So I definitely get carried away, you guys, and I'll start talking about energy. But I definitely want to make sure that we do back it up with scientific research. So thank you for that. Hormonal imbalances. So like we were discussing earlier, and I was talking about the thyroid gland, just in general, the food that we eat. And you can also research this as well. One of the interesting foods that are now being studied is chicken and poultry, because all chickens are female. And so what we're seeing within the scientific community as relates is a very, very high level of estrogen. And so when you think of estrogen, well, yes, I'm a woman and I want to conceive, so I need a lot of estrogen. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So we definitely want to take into account what your hormones are doing, how you're regulating them, and blood tests are the best way. But just to be aware of yourself, see how your emotions are. Are you easily upset over small things? That can be an indication right there that maybe my emotions, maybe that stems from something more chemical, and that can be related to your hormones. Maternal health problems, as we were talking about chronic diseases. So this includes diabetes, this includes obesity, this includes cardiovascular issues, and also mental health issues. You want to make sure that you're assessing yourself, mind, body, and spirit, to make sure that we are at our optimal health level, because health is wealth, and that is the best determining factor so that we can avoid miscarriage. And then excessive intake of caffeinated products. Dr. Julissa, her book is phenomenal as far as really breaking down and organizing what affects our fertility. And I think the number one obstacle for my clients that I've experienced is caffeine, because of the amazing effect that it has on your brain. As far as your receptors, they light up and it makes your body feel so great, but it definitely does have a negative effect when it comes to your overall health. So we definitely want to make sure that if you are experiencing miscarriage, you have experienced miscarriage, to be mindful of the products that you're consuming, because not everything openly labels the caffeine that's in it. Just as Kania was talking about earlier, our menstrual pads, our hygiene products, they don't list all of the potential deadly chemicals that are in them. You know what I'm saying? So, and I believe we're lobbying right now within this political theme for mainstream products to label what are in our sanitary napkins. And then medications. Tylenol, simple Tylenol, Motrin, Advil, these type of medications that are easy over-the-counter access, don't always list the side effects, but definitely have science is banging out beautiful research right now that is once again telling us what we've always known. These type of medications do hinder our fertility. Some of them may even cause miscarriage. And so when you're going to your doctors and you're being prescribed certain things, or you find out that you are pregnant, do your research as well as speaking to a physician about the effects of medications. Because sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a large number of deaths in order for research to be done to relate certain things that we're intaking. So intake versus death. Hope that was so. The good thing is that nature provides. And so these are just some of the herbs that I use for my clients. And so before using any of these, I would definitely consult if you have a naturopath doctor or an herbalist, or a doula or a midwife, or someone that's well versed within herbal use, because with anything, too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. And we definitely want to make sure that you are blending herbs and blending medications, and that they don't have a negative effect when they are together. So I named my Uva Ursi at the top because I think this is a beautiful herb that can be used for tea right now. That is great for cleansing of the kidneys. And it also does amazing work for the reproductive system as far as making sure that there is good blood circulation. And that is one of the factors that happens within miscarriage, is that we want to make sure that everything has good blood flow when related to the womb. And so as you can see, I've listed some false unicorn root, cramp bark, wild yam, lobelia, and black haw root or cramp bark. These are actually used and can be put into a tincture. A tincture is what you see here on the left. This is something that is very, very strong. I usually use my tinctures with gin. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but with gin, and you would drop them under your tongue. So what we were talking about earlier as far as the different types of miscarriage, depending upon what stage you're at, you can, and women have, prevented miscarriage from taking maybe 15 drops of this, you can see, of all of these together in a tincture and stopping it. What happens is it relaxes the uterus so that no more contractions can occur. And once the contractions have stopped and you've elevated your feet and relaxed and maybe sniff some beautiful frankincense or some lavender and calmed yourself down, women have been able to stop miscarriage. And so this is very, very important when you're thinking about your prenatal care, to make sure that you have a different type of resources. If you're a woman who's experienced miscarriage before, this is something that I would definitely invest in, a miscarriage tincture, so that if you feel any of those signs, that it's, number one, safe to take, that you've consulted and let your physician know about this option, and that you hopefully have someone as far as a doula or a nurse practitioner even, or a midwife that you can call and say, hey, you know, I'm feeling some abdominal pain or some back pain, and I just saw a little bit of spotting. This is where you can take 15 drops, and she says, go ahead and relax. Or you call your physician and say, I'm going to come in for an exam, but I've already taken these 15 drops and it stopped the contractions. This has worked, ladies. And so I want, you know, even though nature sometimes has their own agenda, we definitely have the power to stop it at times. So that is an option. And then that dried raspberry leaf tea at the bottom, that's great to go ahead and sip and drink on a regular basis when you're thinking about conception. Yes, do you have what you're on? Okay. The next one we have here, you may see this slide again because it came back, but I love it. This is when I discovered a vaginal steam, and I've continued to use it for myself. You don't want to do this while you are pregnant. Please don't do a vaginal steam while you're pregnant. Yes, not healthy. But before conception, definitely can assist with balancing your reproductive system and making sure that everything is working how it would. And then I just wanted to highlight womb massages. So you definitely want to consult with a doula or with a sister like Ajay, a womb practitioner, about womb massages and giving yourself nightly womb massages after a bath. A womb massage just entails you deep breathing, laying on your back with some beautiful oils such as coconut. You can even use castor oil. Castor oil is good because it removes toxins from that area. So you want to go ahead, take a bath, warm up that area, and then give yourself a massage. And it is clockwise for fertility, counterclockwise for digestion. And you want to push some pressure on it and just massage and talk to your womb, talk to your yoni, and give her some love, show her some love. Yes.
So what about Are you familiar with what's called yoni massage
Yes, yes, I
or
am well versed.
the massage? Because yeah, massage. Do you know of any way that might impact fertility? Again, this is more preconception, but any thoughts on that?
For preconception, it is great. It's great because you are able to locate where your ovaries are. And then from there, you can learn the shape of your womb so that if you know more about your body, the more that you know about your body, you know how to respond and how to take care of it. And so number one, figuring out if it is low can help you if you're physically active and you get pregnant. And then, like we were talking about, you may already know, okay, I might need a cerclage. Women who have had abortions previously, their womb will actually move their position. And so it will lay lower. And so actually with your womb massage and with, you're able to, like Maite, that is who taught me the womb placement. And so she was able, and it starts with a womb massage, with a yoni massage, with figuring out where exactly is your womb. Where is that shape within your stomach? Is it sitting high? Is it sitting low? Is it tilted to the left? Is it tilted to the right? And we want everything to be in balance. So I think we'll have time. I was like looking at the time, but I might just have to do my own video about where, you know, how to locate it. So that you can
All is well, no rush.
Yes, gotcha. But yes, but that will assist with your fertility because once again, it gives you confidence in yourself that you do know your body well. And I think, you know, the more confident that we get with our own bodies, the less that we have fear. And I think fear is what establishes or keeps us in certain mindsets. And I am a true believer of where what we think creates our reality. And so we have to manifest first with our thoughts. And that will show within our physical realm. So yes, what is next? So I know we skipped all of a sudden. I didn't put it on a slide or anything because this is the portion that we're discussing what happens after the miscarriage. So using a vaginal steam, of course, once bleeding has stopped, that's an excellent way to start the healing process. But it starts immediately after the release or expulsion of the fetus. So clear quartz. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, you got it. Yes. See, you see? So the universal healing stone is the clear quartz. And if you're unfamiliar with crystals as stones and or how they work, they are natural elements that you find within the earth. And so you do use them through mining. You can go to local crystal shops, natural healing expos. They usually have them, and they even have a touring crystal shop around the U.S. or crystal tour around the U.S. where you can go and purchase them. You can purchase them online, but I would urge you to go and take the time in a store because whatever crystal that you need, whatever property that you need, they usually speak to you and you'll find yourself walking over to it, grabbing it, feeling how it feels in your hand, and that's the immediate attraction. Yes.
I was going to let you know. You can also work with your favorite medicine woman who I would definitely do a reading and I will send you the most fabulous crystals possible. So, because it can be a bit overwhelming trying to work with crystals, and so it's just good to know that you can reach out to me and you can get a consultation.
Yes, and it is, and that's why you'll see I've the ones that I included in here are specific crystals that I do use when my clients are dealing with a miscarriage. So our clear quartz for universal healing, I tell women to put that underneath their pillow while they sleep because it heals everything. It balances everything. It's just a beautiful crystal to work with. The rose quartz is to promote self-love. And yes, there you go. Yes, it's to promote self-love and unconditional love. Once again, reminding ourselves that even though this is painful and we did lose a life, that you are still valuable and that you are still worthy. And it doesn't mean that you're not worthy of the child, does not mean that you're not worthy of the mother. And so once again, allowing yourself to grieve and mourn, because it is a mourning process, but you have some tools like rose quartz to go ahead and amplify that self-love for you. And so it definitely assists. So I tell women, you know, when they are thinking about the birth, or they're thinking about the miscarriage, or they're going through their what ifs, that they go ahead and they hold the rose quartz in their dominant hand. And just sit with it. There's nothing specific that you need to do. You know what I'm saying? You can, but once again, no need to overwhelm you. You're already in a very emotional state. So my left. Usually we deal with a lot of anxiety, you know, and anxious, you know, not knowing what to do, feeling empty. And so Larimar, might be saying it incorrectly, but this is a good stone that I recommend for ladies. And I definitely, if you have experienced miscarriage or you do know someone that's going through, I actually just gave a box. I give a care box, and they house these crystals with certain instructions, along with a yoni steam, so that you can kind of start that process, that healing process through. So this one is great for anxiety. And then carnelian is that life force energy. So it does provide you with energy. Yeah, there you go. You see? Yes. So yes, we definitely know it is, it's devastating, you know, to experience a miscarriage. And so the first step of healing is to get up. A lot of the times we want to lay in the bed. We don't have energy. It is physically draining to go through a miscarriage, just as if you gave a live birth. It is draining. It is taxing on your body. Your body's going to need time to rebalance the hormones, to actually register what's going on, and how to start to function normally once again. And then once again, acknowledging that your previous body is gone. Your body still knows and remembers that it did have a life within it, and that it expelled. So carnelian is very, very good as well. And you want to put the carnelian in your left hand, because that is attached more to your left side, is for your heart chakra. And so I tell women, once they're doing things, they want to get up, put that carnelian in your left hand, put it on a necklace. You can also put it on earrings, or you can just carry it around in your bra, right up under your left breast. Yes, ma'am, right up under your left breast. And you know, you got to handle, some of us can take more time off than others. And this is a great stone for when you don't have that option of relaxing and life says, nope, I need you to get up and go. Grab a carnelian with you. We have some other crystals and stones. There are so many, you guys. Let's not get overwhelmed, but these are my miscarriage package. Jade, moonstone, ruby, unakite, hematite, pink opal, pink calcite, and picture jasper. I didn't list all of them here on the pictures, but just to give you an indication of what some of them look like. Once again, I would go ahead, if you are experiencing, you have just experienced a miscarriage, or you're still get very emotional as far as when you're thinking about it, to call Kania for a consultation, because she'll probably send you some of these. If not, you can reach out to me. These are part of my miscarriage package as well. But the use of crystals and stones, some of the stones amplify feelings. Some of the stones absorb feelings. So if you are in a negative headspace, and what you're thinking about seems to be negative and not so much useful, but you're dealing with a lot of regret, hematite is a great stone, because it literally absorbs those negative frequencies. When you're done with the stone will actually break apart. So women, especially for your root chakra, because that's where the trauma happened, your root chakra is at the base of your yoni. I would go ahead and lay it there. So these are beautiful to use when you are giving yourself a womb massage, when you are once again showing yourself self-love, taking a break from the rest of the world, and really grounding yourself. It's a great stone to use. And then we talked about the healing timeline. I don't believe there's a timeline. Just wanted that to be there because some of us unfortunately have family or have work that says that you need to get over the miscarriage. It's gone, move on. And I absolutely disagree. I believe that mourning, there is no timeline. And I use this cycle for my own lives that have been lost. And I do recommend a cycle like this for my mommies. Guys, I still consider you mommies even if you had a miscarriage. You had that experience of growing life, and no matter what time it decided to leave out, hi, Ajay. Sorry. Whatever time it decided to leave, I can't hear you. Yeah. It is okay. And so I start with Post-its. So the Post-its give yourself tiny, quick reminders of how valuable you are and how worthy you are of love and how amazing you are. And so I recommend you going through tiny Post-its. Create tiny Post-its. It can be one Post-it, or it can fill up your wall, your mirror, your binders, your notebooks, whatever you need to give yourself a few reminders about love. So this foot in the ground to ground. So we are part of the earth, and Mother Nature is a beautiful, beautiful creation. And the best way that I've seen to detox any negativity or to deal with any stress is to give it to the earth. You can find an ocean if you can, a stream of water. Kind of make sure it's clean if it's out, out and around. But definitely ground yourself. Take your shoes off, take your socks off, walk in the park. Carry your crystals with you if you want to use crystals. If not, it still works. And utilize that with sun gazing, which I'll explain on the next presentation. And then a letter. So this letter of love, I recommend for my clients when dealing with miscarriage is to close, not to exactly close out, but to acknowledge the life that you lost and to give yourself a healthy way of expressing the what ifs. So your letter will be your letter to the child that you've lost. If you had a name already, go ahead and use the name. If you had, if you went shopping and you had, an outfit, a favorite outfit that you wanted to put them in, go ahead and explain that in the letter. Dear baby, or, I did one for my sister, as we expressed earlier. We didn't name her. I named her. And so I went ahead and wrote a letter, closing out the letter of saying, I acknowledge and thank you for passing through, and hopefully we will meet again. And that, I think, is determined and will vary upon your spiritual beliefs, which is all good. And then a bath. Give yourself a bath. Baths are beautiful because water absorbs energy as well. So just like you're grounding outside, you can also ground and release your stress and your pain through the water and let it go through the drain and acknowledge that it is passing through. Give yourself a beautiful shower afterwards, and then go ahead and give yourself a massage. The environment is everything, so set it up once again like you are deserving of a romantic night. Your partner can. And I also wanted to include that grounding and all of these can work and be tools for your partner. So you definitely want to acknowledge that a miscarriage does affect the partner in the expecting, and so healing beautifully together is a good way. And so I included 2 affirmations. One says, I am worthy of love and love flows into me abundantly. The other is every day and in every way, my self-love deepens. I am a happy and healthy person, and I will always be successful. So those are the type of thoughts that we want to continue to think after experiencing this trauma. There is no time limit on healing. Once again, and I included the moon and I included the sun, meaning you don't count the days that you've been necessarily healing. It is up to you, your body, and your psyche. Sun gazing is a beautiful exercise, and moon gazing as well. Sun gazing is safe 1 hour after sunrise and 1 hour before sunrise. It does not have the harmful UV rays that society tells us, and getting that energy directly from the sun assists with everything within the body, psychological as well as physiological. So you definitely, I would recommend you guys research sun gazing and start the exercise. 10 seconds for your first sun gazing experience, and then try to increase it as you go. And then moon gazing, it's beautiful, especially as women. Our cycles are supposed to be on the moon schedule. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but to acknowledge that we are feminine energy, and that is the moon energy. And so for my clients, I just recommend with this type of situation to go ahead and charge your crystals outside with the moon, and charge your crystals outside with the sun. And I think Kania would be able to expand upon your practice with crystals. But it has been my pleasure. That's the end of my presentation. I was gonna say, I'm trying to, how do I end my screen share?
Awesome.
So yeah. So are there any questions? I know it was heavy, guys. And you know, it's not a easy topic to talk about. And I definitely, my heart goes out to those who have experienced miscarriage. But I always want to make sure that we end on a positive note, because, you know, unfortunately, I mean, death is part of that cycle. Life, you can't have life without death, and vice versa. So to definitely research, but love yourself. At the end, that is what kills.
Awesome.
Love ourselves and to forgive.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for this presentation. It's not a topic I don't think I would have immediately thought about. But yeah, particularly, you know, for women who maybe have had some challenges for fertility, for many of them, I know miscarriage is something that's in the past, or they may even experience on the journey. The only thing I just want to just throw in is that spiritual practice is something to consider. And if you do, this is one to out to your spiritual leader, your guide, and really get that kind of support. You know, just kind of depending on what your personal belief system is, but if that is something that's there for you, definitely add that to your healing team, because
I lost you.
counseling and resource you have in your life. Just add that in.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Well, wow. I mean, such a necessary topic, not necessarily the most fun or exciting, but, you know, as you said, death is a part of life, and a miscarriage sometimes, as you said, can be for the best, highest, and good. A lot of times when we do this kind of work, we think that when we pray or when we invoke the divine, it means everything's going to turn up roses. But the reality is this: if your body has said, you know what, this is not the time to know that ultimately things are unfolding for your highest, best, and good. And it doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it it doesn't hurt. But as you heal from it, as you embrace it, as you begin to look for the lesson in it, just consider that perhaps the divine was looking out for you. And perhaps that baby was like, oh, wait, I'm not ready to come yet. Let me go back in wait. And so just know that your baby will come in the right time and in the right place. And so don't give up. You know, sometimes it's just an alert that there's just some more work to do. And you want to work with a practitioner or practitioners just to do the work and never give up hope. And so, yeah, we bring today's edition of Fertility Family Live to a close. For any of you all who may be watching, and you're like, whoa, what did I just jump into? Yeah, you just jumped into the Fertility Family, Sunshine. And know that we are here to help you succeed. So we have these weekly education sessions. We've got coaches. We've got group support. Our whole goal is to make sure you have that happy, healthy baby and to take full advantage of what the Fertility Family has to offer. You want to join the family. So if you visit join.fertilityfamily.com or just visit fertilityfam.com, you'll see, how to do that. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It's a wealth of information. When I was out at the Women's Expo, I encountered some women who were like, I have flyers about the Fertility Family. They were like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I'm like, yeah, I know, Diva. And so, yeah, if you or someone who could use this as a resource, please make sure that you let them know. Coming up next week, the doctor will be back in. We'll have Dr. Hugh Jenkins with us. And he really looks at fertility holistically. His last session was talking about the microbiome and the unlikely connection between your gut health and fertility. And so it's always great information about understanding how to transition your lifestyle to be able to um, put forth the optimal conditions to have that happy, healthy baby. So we will see you next week. Hopefully, we'll see you in the group, in the family. I'm Kania Kennedy, the founder of the Fertility Family, as well as a member on my personal journey to have my first baby, Baby Fabulous. If I didn't mention, I'm 43 years old. I'm single. I've never been pregnant. I've never had a miscarriage because I've never even had a yeast infection. My honey pot has been real chill all my life. And so we're certain that Baby Fabulous is going to come in and then they're going to gestate and then ease on out like, what? And then we're going to be like, hey. But that can only happen because I'm willing to do the work, and I trust that however this unfolds, it will be for my highest, best, and good. So I wish you all the best, love, and light on your journey. Akilah, is there anything you want to add in before we wrap up today?
No, I think you did beautifully. Just once again, thank you for the time, and thank all the viewers out there for the time. And happy, healthy pregnancies for everyone. That is the goal.
You are a treasure. Thank you so much. Bye. Good night.